Today is Tuesday, June 27th. This is the Post Up. I'm Ryan Sampson. I'm joined by Brandon London and Dexter Henry. Guys, how you doing?
Doing good, man. How you doing?
And man, life is amazing. It is what it should be, in the words of Aubrey Drake Graham.
There you go.
Started off with a Drake verse,
yeah,
Ryan. We got to start
I know.
off
I
with
don't know how
Drake
to react off of that. I'm going to go with our top story, though, right here. Brandon Marshall, in an interview that he did in January, ripped MetLife Stadium's turf, and we've had a lot of horror stories when it comes to this turf at MetLife Stadium. We've heard about the playing quality. A lot of players have complained about it. Giants wide receiver Sterling Shepard tore his ACL on there. Nick Bosa from the 49ers in a game in 2020 tore his ACL. We've seen multiple and countless injuries. It seems like it's kind of like a house of horrors a little bit on this turf. So I'm going to toss to Brandon here first on this story. When you saw these comments resurface again from Marshall's interview, when he talked about how he had his season-ending injury on his shoulder. How did you react to that story?
Like you said, it was back in January, and I was wondering why would this resurface. But I honestly think it's Giants fans making sure that the Mariners and MetLife Stadium put down a new turf. Now there is a new turf there. I was there for the draft party. It's super spongy, kind of feels like grass. Nothing can replace grass, but they got it in the indoor facility as well. But if you're a Giants fan, you just think about the horror stories of some of your best players. I mean, if you look at that year, it was Brandon Marshall, Sterling Shepard, Evan Ingram, and Odell Beckham Jr. Marshall went down that year. Shep went down that year. And that's the year Odell messed up his leg again that year. So if you have horror stories when it comes to this field. Now, my only thing, Dexter, and I'm gonna throw it to you, is I understand that it's new, but you may have to put some Pop Warner teams and some high school teams out there to break it in for you before you have a professional game on there, because that's brand new turf. I liken it to maybe it's like having a brand new court out in an arena.
Yeah, no. Actually, it's funny you mentioned that, because I was thinking about that too. Like, whenever there's this brand new turf and NFL players are the ones to break it in, it's like, man, they're the ones that are the guinea pigs, right? They're the ones that are making all this money. There's so much investment into that. The problem there is, and I'm trying to think about it. Let me ask you this, Brandon, you might know this. Are they changing the turf there? Because there's some soccer games they're going to have in MetLife this summer on the pitch. Like Man United, I think Arsenal is supposed to play at MetLife. Is there any change in that? Is that going to be the same turf for that? Because I'm wondering if that would.
What I'm hearing so far is they're going to roll something down. They're going to roll like a grass type field on there, because when you're Man U or you're FIFA, because remember the World Cup's coming over here, we ain't playing on that stuff you Americans play on, just like they don't eat the food that we eat on over here. We could talk about the FDA another day. I can get into that another day. But when we're talking about that turf, man, like I'm team grass. I'm team grass. I don't have a problem practicing on the field turf, because especially when it's wet, it's slippery, you can still go out there, you can get some good work in. But Ryan, I'm team grass. I think every NFL team should have grass, because like JJ Watt said, guys, your muscles are getting bigger. The league is getting bigger, faster, stronger. More but your joints and your tendons, they don't change. They don't get stronger.
So the counter to that, Brandon, is they're going to say, it costs more to maintain it and whatever. But I think, to your point, you got to make that investment.
Multi-billion-dollar league.
Yeah.
If Roger Goodell is making $50+ million this year, you mean to tell me we can't change every single field to grass or have some sort of hybrid system in place? Roger Goodell's awesome, but I want to pay the players. I want to make sure my top players, my Odells, my Brandon Marshalls are out there, because I've just invested X on them. I need my ROI, and I need a Super Bowl out of these guys. I need them healthy.
Facts. I'm with Brandon on this. I'm with him on this.
Yeah, I just think it's interesting that you have two professional sports teams, the Jets and Giants, both sharing a stadium. And it took multiple years after a lot of injuries to finally take action. The players complained for years, and it wasn't just your own players. It was other players around the league who criticized your stadium that they come to, and they say, it's one of the worst surfaces I've played on. And you shouldn't have to worry about, like you said, your prized possessions, these superstars, jeopardizing not only their season, but their career possibly when they're playing out there and putting their bodies on the line. I absolutely agree. I think it should be mandated. Every team should be playing on grass. It makes for better football. There are some scenarios where grass does get a little tricky. When we saw the Super Bowl between the Chiefs and the Eagles. A lot of guys were slipping out there playing with the wrong cleats, and they said the field was a little too slippery, and also the paint was an issue. So you gotta have a right balance there. But I totally agree. Grass should be the way to go for all these NFL teams. I don't know why they're not doing it, but it is what it is. Guys, let's go to the next top. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Really quick, the thing with the Super Bowl is, they put more makeup and paint on that than a Kardashian. So guys come out, you don't really get a chance to really get the right footing. And then on the flip side, when people are like, oh, it's too expensive. Do we ever hear anybody, and Dex, you know this, do we ever hear anybody complain about the former Heinz Field, when you got Pitt and you got the Steelers playing on it?
Yep.
No one really gets hurt on that when it comes to joints and tendons. So this is something that can definitely be done.
That was a great point.
Yeah, it really could. And let's go to our next topic here. Let's talk about Leonard Fournette in a scary social video that he posted to his Instagram. His car apparently caught fire on the highway. Luckily, no one was hurt. Leonard Fournette wasn't hurt either. But guys, I don't know if you saw these images. It's wild seeing how bad of a shape his car turned out to be. It was toast.
It was like you had sent that to me, Ryan, and I was like, wow, this was crazy. And that had to be such a scary situation. I don't know if anybody's ever had their car catch on fire. I have not, but I've had to drive through fire through an accident. I once had a situation. I was on the Belt Parkway in New York. Two cars were racing each other, a Porsche Cayenne, some other little car. The car on the right spun out, hit the guardrail, started backing into the center of the lane. I'm driving about 55, 60 miles an hour, and the car caught on fire right as I was getting past it. So I kind of like went through the smoke and all that stuff, and that was on the ground. So that's really scary. First things first, glad that Leonard Fournette is okay. Like, that is the most important thing here. Glad that he is okay to get out of that. It shows you how precious life is, how grateful we all should be to be here and experiencing what we can. And life is a lot more than just football or any sport that we play or whatever we do. But, you know, man, that's a crazy situation because it could have been a lot worse. And I'm really glad to see he got out the car. He's there to still be around for his family and whoever he helps. But yeah, that was just, if you haven't seen the images, that really took me away.
Definitely check those images out. But I'm a little mad at Playoff Lenny right now for
Why you mad at him?
For getting video. I would have been like, Ezel, my neck, my back. We would have had some lawsuit pending. You'd give your lawyer something to work with, man. Give your lawyer something to work with. You didn't beat the death-defying odds. Praise to whoever you pray to. Now is not the time to do it for the gram, Dex. You don't go out there and take video of it. I would have been laying there, my neck, my back. I'm suing.
I actually don't remember this from what Ryan sent us in this article, but I do not know the make and the model of the car.
Yeah, I couldn't even tell the make and the model of the car looking at the video.
That's not a good look for them. Your car caught on fire. Whatever car company that is, they don't like this right now. They do not want this, lack of a better, no pun intended. They don't want this heat right now. And they are just like, damn. So now he put all this out there, and everybody's looking at like, I don't know if I want to drive that car. I would. Hopefully there's no recalls. Interesting. It's gonna be interesting.
Like we said, don't know what to make of the car, but it was a scary sight to see. Our next topic here, boys, Saudi investment group.
Oh, yeah.
Brandon talked a little bit about this today when he was at work, and I thought this was a pretty interesting story. Obviously, the Saudi investment group is infamous now for heavily investing and creating the LIV golf tour. But now they've also had investments in other things where we've seen them now get involved with soccer. And now we've seen them possibly getting involved here with tennis. You have tennis stars preaching and saying, yeah, welcome that money. We'll gladly welcome that money into the ATP, into these tours. And I want to talk about this first, about their possible involvement in tennis. And then I have a follow-up question about how you guys feel about the Saudi investment public group, this investment group, getting invested in all these different sports.
I think it's going to be great for tennis. I think, Nick Kyrgios, the bad boy, the John McEnroe of today, is the one that's come out and been like, yeah, we can finally get paid. I'm all for it. And he put 10 money bag emojis behind that. So, that man's pockets, he's like, I'm not getting enough, or I don't think I'm getting the recognition. You just think about the money that they can put in it. Tennis is something, again, it's like golf. It's so traditional. It's so prestigious. And shake things up. Make it fun. Make it something that all the kids want. You want kids these days being like, oh, I want to be Nick Kyrgios. I want to be. Can we even name who the top stars in tennis are? No, but with some Saudi money behind it, like they're throwing money at different players, and now they want to kind of invest in the ATP. I think that's only going to be better for the game and for that league and on the global scale, because if there's no NFL or no CFL or no Arena League or NBA when it comes to tennis, it's just a national thing. I mean, a global thing. So if we're sitting here and this is what we kind of cover for a living, and we can only name only the guys who market themselves and really do things to really get their names out there, then that's extra money into the marketing to get these players some name recognition, to get some money in their pockets.
Yeah, I mean, on the tennis side of things, just like golf, I kind of feel the same way. When you have these individual sports, this influx of money, these sports that have already had Brandon kind of mentioned this, right? Which is like they're very, affluent sports, right? You have to have a lot of money to play the game, and these sports have been a little bit exclusionary, if you want to say, not necessarily as much inclusive. Now, I think the problem that comes for people is, all right, it's about how do you feel about the Saudi money? That's the thing we're really talking about here. And look, listen, you can go into the NFL, the NBA, whatever league you want to. All these billionaire owners, their money is not that clean as you might think, right? Like all these companies and corporations that we are dealing with and do stuff with, they've got money tied into it. Even things that we use like Uber has Saudi money tied into it. So I'm always intrigued when people are getting on their high horse about this. Whatever, you might not agree with the human rights violations. I do not support that actually 100% at all whatsoever. But we know that a lot of corporations, a lot of things we take part of, the money is not necessarily the cleanest, even in this country. So listen, if it's going to help these individual sports, if it's going to allow these players to earn more, which I'm always going to support, then I think that's a good thing. If it's going to make the game more exciting or try to add different things to it, like Brandon's talking about, that we've seen that they're trying to do with golf, I also think that's good too. I think the interesting thing, I think this is where you're probably going to lead us next, Ryan, is what happens when this comes to team sports, because there's a little bit different between team and individual. But I think we're already here, man. It's too late. We're already here. The door's been kicked down. We're here. The Saudi money is going to be in here sports. It's not going anywhere anytime soon.
Right. So you've seen the Saudi investment group. They've been involved in team sports when it comes to soccer, but when it comes to Americanized sports, we've heard rumors now the NBA, the Washington Wizards, might be looking for the Wizards, right?
That actually got done.
So it's done. So they own 20% of that team, right?
Yeah, it was very quietly done because it was the same day the Chris Paul trade went down, and they kind of like pushed that under the radar. Right. That is done. The Saudi money is now in there with the Wizards. Yeah.
So I think, like you said, team sports are going to be the next thing that they try and get their hands on here in America. I think it's interesting, though. Everyone talks about NFL's king, and ownership is always thing that everyone talks about when it comes to NFL. Who's the family? Who's the owner? You saw the debacle that went down with Dan Snyder finally selling his team. My question to you guys is, could we see this investment group get involved, and would the NFL welcome that money? Because they are already raking in cash as it is when it comes to new TV rights, the sports gambling aspect. They're raking in cash, but like you said, that Saudi money is different. It's unlike anything you've ever seen. Mm-hmm. So when they come with their checkbooks open and they know that that's going to get the most ratings because NFL is always king, could we see that potential happen there?
They better. NFL better not try and draw the line in the sand and try and make this be the thing they want to be all high and mighty and ride on that high horse on. You got guys when you got clubs and teams sweeping things under the radar, under the rug when it comes to domestic abuse and other things in that nature. So I look at it like this. And if the NFL, I'm team NFL, but if the NFL tries to flex its chest, don't be surprised if that Saudi money creates the Live FL and tries to rival the NFL globally. We're talking about the PIF just made a bid of $16 billion to own the rights to Formula One. $16 billion. Now, when it comes to being a monopoly, the NFL is one of the biggest monopolies out there. We can't get that anywhere.
It's a fraternity, though, Brandon. These owners keep it within their families, or they keep it to other people that they know can own sports, like the Harris Group that is buying the Commanders. They own the 76ers. They own other franchises. So they know it's a fraternity that we can all be together. They sustain within our – go ahead.
Ryan, I was going to ask, do you think that would you saying that it's fraternity, and I agree with you, do you feel like the fraternity of owners that is in the NFL, they are not really trying to let anybody else in?
I think it'll never happen. I don't think they'll ever. I think while Brandon makes up some great points, I think that it's too strong. That football has now become, in my opinion, it is America's pastime. It's our sport. It's taken over baseball. I don't care what anyone says. It's become too big. Everyone talks about the NFL. That's always the most watched sport in our country. And I just don't see how any of those NFL franchises, those owners, ever taking that money unless there's some greedy person, like Brandon said, and they're like, you know what? I'm going to be the first. But then guess what? The NFL can hit them with any kind of lawsuit because they'll always find a way. They have the best lawyers. And, I just don't think they'll ever cross that threshold of, let's welcome that Saudi money in here. And I would challenge Brandon's one thing about them creating, let's say, a Saudi NFL. They'll never get the TV deals that the NFL actually gets. And that's the monopoly. And that's the truth, because that's where the money is really made. Those NFL TV deals are what brings in the billions and billions and billions of dollars for these franchises. And I don't think the Saudi NFL, if they wanted to make a league of their own, there's no chance they would even come close to the viewership or the TV deals that these franchises get in the NFL.
Dexter, please allow me to retort, because that's the same thing Jay Monahan and the PGA Tour was talking about, talking all that noise. But we're talking money. Just imagine Lamar. They didn't want to pay Lamar Jackson. So just think if some Saudi money came to Lamar Jackson, who's his own agent, and was like, we'll pay you $300 million to come on over and play in the Saudi NFL and all, and start poaching its players. It's a star-driven league. So
but then you're getting into the union issues, though, right? But aren't you getting into union issues, player union issues?
Yeah, and see, that's the thing there, guys. I just remember, if I jump in for a second here, that's the thing. I think it's easier for the Saudi money to throw things at individual sports and get talent like they did in golf and start something new than it is in team sports. I think it would be hard for them. They could try, but I think it's harder to get the NFL. And you know this, Brandon, because you got to field a roster of 63, 58 guys. It's a lot harder to do that in football. Now, if they did it in tennis, we just talked about tennis at the top of this. I think it's possible for the Saudis to be like, yo, let's start our own tennis league. Here's where I think both of you make fantastic points. This is where I want to throw to both of you, because I think Brandon kind of alluded this right here. The Saudis, the thing that they've done with all this stuff, and why I think they can enter these leagues, is they have, and I'm going to keep it clean here, they have screw you money, right? They got money that is so crazy. Oh, and Ryan, you kind of hit on this too. You said it's going to take somebody greedy enough to want to take that money. And what I will say to that, and I think you guys both made excellent points, is the NFL has always shown me that they are about that money. They will take that money. They will get more money. I do think Ryan makes fantastic points that the NFL has been like, this is a tight boys club, and we're going to be careful about who we let in. I think Ryan is absolutely right about that. I just wonder if there's a price. Everybody's got a price. That's what I'm saying. And is there a price point where they start saying, you know what? We get this money in here, especially if we're trying to expand our game. You see what the NFL's been trying to do in expanding it to Europe. Yep. Does this money help us expand our game more? If they think that's the case and there's a price to that, I think there's a point where they can go and say yes. I do think, to Ryan's point, they will fight tooth and nail to try to keep this as exclusive as possible, right? The NFL has also not shown you to be very inclusive with their ownership. But I just wonder what I'm just saying. I think both make great points. I just wonder, what is the price? What is the cost where they might say, we'll take this money?
This isn't going to be a thing where it's just 1 year and then with the union cost. Let's say Dalvin Cook's deal is up right now. DeAndre Hopkins' deal is up right now. You get, let's just say, oh, we're starting a new league. We get you guys over there at a little past their prime, 30, DeAndre's about 30 something, just like Cristiano Ronaldo plus 30, Karim Benzema over his 30s, going to play in the Saudi league for soccer now. They got N'Golo Kante, they got Koulibaly. They're poaching stars from these teams over in England and over in Europe to go play in the Saudi Arabian soccer league. If they created their own league and waited till guys' deals were up, you mean to tell me Odell at the end of his deal wouldn't go play there? You mean to tell me that Von Miller at the end of his deal? These guys, they understand how dirty the business of the NFL is. So if there's something where they can guarantee a Von Miller or one of these young up and coming stars, maybe not a Joe Burrow, I see him being a Jamar Chase. Come on over and we'll give you as a wide receiver 150 guaranteed because we got that screw you money. They would be on that flight with.
Let me ask you this, Brent. I love this conversation. Let me ask you this, Brandon, because and we were talking about whether, and I do think it's harder for them to create a football league because people around the world don't necessarily care about American football in the way they do about soccer.
Yeah.
But what if they bought like the XFL right now? Right? I want to throw this hypothetical out. What if they brought the XFL and they started doing some of the stuff that you're saying, Brandon, which is like, okay, we've got a league with people. Now we got the money behind it. Can we then attract some of the top NFL players? I don't know whether they're in their prime, past their prime, or whatever, and get them to come over. Do you think that's a model that could happen where they could then realistically attract stars?
Yeah, because the Rock money ain't Saudi money. You know, no offense to the Rock, but like you said, now you're in-house. Now you're in America. You can keep that same system. You can keep the familiarity. But then you can also start. It's just like the USFL, and the NFL back in the day, trying to get Bo Jackson, trying to get Steve Young and those guys from the NFL.
Can you get the TV money? That's interesting too, because Ryan brought up that point that I thought was very interesting. Could they get the TV money?
You'd only get the TV money if
you need the stars, right?
You need the stars, and that's the thing. What Brandon's proposing are stars past their prime, which I don't think you get the viewership anymore. That's my thing. I get what your point is. I totally do. But you're pitching an idea of a Ronaldo, who in my opinion, it's towards the end of his career. He'll still get viewership, but it's not nearly what it was. And I just don't know if you're going to get that return on investment that you actually think you would by paying these players all that type of money. I know these players, obviously the NFL, they want to get paid more. I just don't see a Joe Burrow or, like you said, or even a Patrick Mahomes. I don't see them ever taking contract from the Saudi group and being like, yeah, I'm going to go play football over there without Andy Reid, without all these Travis Kelce, without, the AFC. Like, it just, for me, I think there's too much established in the NFL as a team sport that it's going to be tough for the Saudis to invest in that. Now, here's one caveat I will say to finally wrap this whole thing up. If the NFL does decide to establish a foreign-based NFL franchise team to expand the league, right? If they go to Europe and they go into England or Germany where they're trying to play more games, could you see them say, Saudi investment group, you guys can come in on that new franchise and buy, let's say, a 40% share, 60% still owned by a majority one person, but we'll allow you to invest in that so you can take back some of that money from our TV deals that we're going to have that are insane.
Absolutely, because it's easier for the American people to digest that. It wouldn't,
and it's easier for the NFL too.
Right there, bam, bam. Yo, we should make our own little group. You know what I'm saying? I can't purchase it in full, but I can put something on it. You know what I mean? That won't get paid till next one.
You heard it here first. Tennis and then the NFL. That's what's going to happen. All right, guys, let's go to our next story here. Derek Carr, he had a pretty revealing conversation with the Fresno Bee, in which he discussed his end of his career with the Las Vegas Raiders. It was a 9-year career, second round pick for the Raiders when they were in Oakland. He's one of the all-time leading passers for this franchise. Didn't go exactly the way he wanted to or hoped that envisioned he would play his entire career with the Raiders. Obviously, they hired a brand new head coach in Josh McDaniels last year, and he's choosing to go his own way with a new quarterback. They signed Jimmy Garoppolo. They didn't play Carr the last 2 games in 2022. They decided to not pick up the next year on his option, and they released him. He signed with the New Orleans Saints, got a pretty hefty deal there. But Carr had some interesting thoughts about how he didn't know it was going to end this way on his career. And when asked if he could potentially even return to the Raiders, let's say towards the end of his career, he said, when they made my wife cry, that was it. It was over. So guys, what do you make of Derek Carr, the way he's treated towards the end of his career? Was it right? And the fact that his wife obviously was brought to tears and she even didn't envision this coming to an end so quickly for him.
Look, man.
Go ahead, Dex. Go ahead.
Listen, look, we all know it's business, but I do feel a little bit bad for Derek Carr. Here's why. Hold on. Brandon, here's why. I feel a little bit bad for Derek Carr. Ryan just mentioned he's one of the, all-time passing leaders or whatever and all this other stuff. And you got replaced by Jimmy G. Jimmy G, guys. And Josh McDaniels, who's not done a good job as a head coach. We all know this. And he's the one telling you to get out of here. I'd feel some kind of way. But here's the thing. And Brandon, I know you're going to go to this. It's business. You got to get over it. You got to move on at some point. You're in New Orleans now or whatever. Would he come back? I don't know. Would he want to come back? I understand that he feels away because his wife was brought to tears. They were there for 9 years. They made a home there. I get all that. His boy Devonta Adams was playing there with him for the last year. I get all that. But deep down, if I was Derek, I could understand. I'd be like, damn, y'all let me go for Jimmy G? Jimmy G? I kind of get that point. I'm just
Brandon?
saying.
I'm upset with you, Dexter.
Why are you upset with me?
You can't say there's no buts after business. After you say it's business, you wipe your hands clean and you're going about your business. Just think about if you worry about that's Derek Carr. Okay, you're maybe one of the all-time leading Raiders passers and all that stuff. You ain't nobody on no Hall of Fame level. You're not Eli Manning. And you look at what Ben McAdoo tried to do to Eli. He wanted to get Eli out of there. He benched him for Geno Smith, and there were the reports that he wanted to draft Patrick Mahomes. It's business. This is how things go down. And it's not about, you brought in Jimmy G. They didn't want to trade up to go get the guy that they really wanted. They didn't think that there was a franchise quarterback in that draft to go ahead and give up some picks for because they had so many holes on that defense. They had to go. They had to add depth to that roster. So It is what it is. This is a good little the Fresno Times or whatever. This is more one of them People magazine type stories because it's like, he is him, his wife, and like a golden retriever. Like that's the picture that goes.
That's the picture. That's with the story.
That's the picture that goes with the daggone story. Dex, come on, man. Like it is what it is. The only way you come out of this to be like, look, let me stick it to you guys. If you win more than one playoff game. The man's only been to 1 or 2 playoff games through that 9 years. So forget how much you've thrown for. This is a win now business. How far did you take us into the playoffs? Did you get us a ring? Did you get us a conference championship? And the answer to that, no. So you got to go. Since it's no, you got to go.
You got to go. And the thing is, if he's really that salty about all this, right? And I'm not going to tell somebody to not be in their feelings. If this is how he feels about this, right? Then you know what? The point you were making, Brandon, all right, well, play good on the field down in New Orleans. Show the Raiders what they are missing with you. Show them that you are better than Jimmy G. I'm not saying I'm necessarily sure about that, but I understand it's Jimmy G. But show them that you're better and move on. But you know what? It was a therapy session for him, Brandon. He had to talk to the Fresno Times or Fresno Bee. Sorry, Fresno, I didn't mean to disrespect you like that. But he had to talk to that newspaper, and he had to get his feelings out. He just had to let it be known. But you're right. It's business. It's business at the end of the day.
Ryan, if he wins, the city of New Orleans is going to treat him like they treat Drew Brees and Drew Brees' wife. Drew Brees' wife in New Orleans is a goddess. So Mrs. Carr, if Derek Carr wins some games, you're gonna crawfish broil. You're gonna go Popeye's chicken, free Popeye's chicken for life. They're gonna take care of y'all down there.
Yeah, the interesting part, you talk about loyalty. There is no loyalty in the NFL. Even though Derek Carr, let's be honest, guys, he had a pretty rough go of it when it came to that franchise and who he was playing for. You're talking about ownership group that's questionable to say the least. You have head coach after head coach after head coach. The John Gruden debacle, he stayed strong through all of it. The move from Oakland, a diehard fan base, to Las Vegas. He's been through the ringer when it comes to his career, even though it's been 9 years, and he's put up some decent numbers. But like you said, playoffs and wins are what matters the most, and that's what talks the most. Josh McDaniels, however, hasn't won that much. So I don't know if he really has a leg to stand on when it comes to, I can win with Jimmy G with this same team that I'm bringing back. You know, there was a very good offense there last year when you think about Devontae Adams, Josh Jacobs, the leading rusher in the NFL, and Derek Carr, but somehow you still didn't win enough games. And don't get me wrong, it's a tough division, but Derek Carr, I hope it goes well in New Orleans, and you get to prove the haters wrong, and you get to prove Josh McDaniels wrong and stick it in his face.
Absolutely.
All right, guys, let's finish up with our last topic here. There's reports that came out yesterday that the Hard Knocks production team is going, and the NFL are going to force the New York Jets to be the team featured this upcoming season. Now, we've heard a lot of reports that the Jets, both internally and even come out and said publicly, we do not want to be on the Hard Knocks. They've already done it in 2010. Everyone remembers probably, I think it's the best Hard Knocks ever. They went to the AFC Championship game that year. But this team with Aaron Rodgers, all the media circus that's already surrounding this franchise, and we're all going to be covering it this upcoming season, and I can't wait as a fellow Jets fan. But guys, do you think it's okay for the NFL to kind of strong hand and force the team like the New York Jets to say, guys, we got no one else to go to. We're going to you. It's too big of a story for us to not do this, and we have to bring Hard Knocks to you.
Yeah, it's okay because it's the same way they force the players to speak to media after games. It's the same way you got players having to forcing players to be available for media availability. So this is only forcing the club to do their share of media availability, because the fans don't get to see the behind the scenes when it comes to some of their favorite stars or some of their favorite organization, the team. So this is the NFL dropping the hammer on that organization and telling them, you guys are ratings gold. This is going to be gold with the type of personalities you have and a star and the storyline. What I would say to head coach Robert Saleh, I know you're not Rex Ryan, but you got to embrace this like it's Rex Ryan. You got to embrace this circus, because if not, if you're just trying to shield this team and, I don't want too much expectations, or I don't want too many eyes on the team. The eyes are there, baby. Y'all got primetime games off the wazoo that you weren't going to get with Zach Wilson on that squad. So the wins come with Aaron Rodgers, but also the access comes with Aaron Rodgers as well. So if you show the brand of football that you guys are going to play, hard nosed, hard tough, you guys are in the meeting room saying, we like this, get after it here. And you see the swagger and the moxie that this team has because of the arrival of Aaron Rodgers. Show the world. Show them all. Ain't no point of backing down. Show them all, and then go out there and whoop everybody's butt on Sundays and go out there and show everybody, because Rex, like you said, Rex got him to the AFC Championship with Hard Knocks. So don't tell me that, this is going to jinx us or this is some sort of Madden cover curse. No, it's not, because it's been done before. Success has happened. Robert Saleh, coach, embrace it.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because I was there in 2010. I was at that training camp covering the Jets for the Post, my first run with the Post, and I was around there. Rex Ryan did embrace it. Brandon is absolutely right about that. He didn't shy away from it. I remember him being asked about that. And what I will say, though, I think for fans, obviously Hard Knocks is great, man, right? Like what they do, the HBO and the access behind. There are a lot of cameras, more cameras than the average person probably think. There's a lot of cameras. They are on the players. They are on everywhere around, in the meeting rooms, everything, right? So it's a lot of attention. I'm with Brandon on this. When you get a high-profile quarterback like Aaron Rodgers, this is what's going to come with it. This is what it is. It's game time. You got to take the good with the bad. I'm with Brandon on this 100%. Now, I can also understand why some coach might look and say, this could be a distraction because you're trying to get your team ready in training camp and all this time. But I think if you set that culture before, you talk with your guys before, you let them know what it is, and you have a strong unit and bond and focus to a common goal, which is trying to win a Super Bowl, as Brandon is talking about, then I think you can be fine. And also, Brandon also makes another good point. This is about what we've been talking about through this whole show. We talked a lot about money and the bottom line and business. And this is great for the business of the NFL. It's great for fans who want to watch. It's good for their relationship with HBO and all this other stuff. It keeps the brand strong. The NFL brand is strong. It's always going to be strong. It's going to need things like HBO to help put it out there. And it's part of it. Players understand it. Yes, you might feel like it's strong arming. Brandon makes a good point. There are certain requirements that athletes have to do as part of the teams and organization. And this is sort of a strong arming of the team, as Brandon said. And it's like, look, this is what you want to do. Y'all like this money, right? So let's get this money. And I think this is part of it. I think Brandon's spot on about that.
Yeah, I think as a Jets fan, I don't want it. To be honest and frank with you, I enjoyed it in 2010. It was fun. Rex Ryan was such a great personality. There's no need for extra coverage for this team. We cover this team enough. And also, not to mention the fact, I think inside access to all these players and coaches are already done by in-house production teams. And One Jets Drive is one of the best in-house production media teams I've ever seen. They put some amazing footage and documentary and storylines out there. And that's where they get to control the narrative in-house about the type of stories and access they want to grant to the media and the rest of the fans. But Hard Knocks, to me, just feels like another thing there where the coaches don't want to do it. They don't want to talk to these guys. The GM, Joe Douglas, doesn't want to speak to these guys. Woody Johnson probably doesn't. I mean, he probably welcomes it, but who knows how he really feels about this. I'm sure Aaron Rodgers doesn't want to talk more and more. The same questions and answers he's going to have from all of us when we go to these training camp practices and beat writers are covering. I just think it just provides another opportunity for a storyline to come out of nowhere for this team when it really doesn't need to be said. I think as a Jets fan, we've been ignored as the worst team in the NFL the last 10 years. Let's be real. We've been crapped on as a franchise. We're always the butt of every joke, and fans are sick and tired of that. And now we actually have a legitimate chance with an MVP Hall of Fame quarterback leading this franchise, and we're excited. We're excited about this upcoming season, but we don't need Hard Knocks to get more excited about this season. It's not going to provide anything for us as fans, and not to mention the fact Hard Knocks production has gone downhill, if I'm being frank, in the last 5 to 6 years. It hasn't been good. The storylines haven't been great. There's been nothing added that I haven't known already as a fan of the NFL that I'm getting from this Hard Knocks productions. That's my 2 cents on it. Well, I hate that the NFL is forcing us to watch this.
I will say this, right? Because I thought you made some good points about like why the Jets fans won't want it, but it's actually why the rest of the NFL fans will want to watch the Jets. And I think they'll be tied in because you said the Jets have been the butt of jokes for a lot. They haven't won a Super Bowl in God knows how long. It's been forever since Joe Namath. And now they got Aaron Rodgers. There's all this juiciness. It's a great sell for the rest of the country. Yeah, I understand what you're saying in the Jets fan base for the Jets fan, why they'll say they don't want it. But for the rest of the country, they're like, oh, we get to see if the Jets mess up again or do something crazy and they can be the butt of our jokes. Yeah, we'll get on that.
Exactly, because Brian Simpson that lives in Fresno, that reads the Fresno Bee, isn't watching the Jets in-house media. Isn't watching that.
It's on YouTube. So go to YouTube.
He knows nothing about it. But on that Sunday night where he just gets to sit back and crack open a brew and watch Hard Knocks, now he gets to see, oh, look at the Jets. Maybe I should bet on them this year. Oh, I should take this guy on my fantasy roster. Look how fast McCall Harmon looks. He looks.
take this total over 9.5.
Ryan, it sounded like you and Jets fans, y'all trying to sneak into the prom. Y'all trying to sneak into the show. No, you
Brandon, here's where I'm going to get you here. You know this. I'm going to get this. As a former Giants wide receiver, what is everyone and all my Giants fans, friends, and everything of the Giants, what do they preach? We're all business. We're all first class. They would never want to do Hard Knocks ever. So why if we want to be that type of organization, we want to be a better organization, not be the butt of every joke and be a world-class professional first, which I think is what Joe Douglas wants to do with this. And Robert Saleh is the same way. They want to run a business first. We're all about football. That's all we care about. We don't care about the media circus. We don't care about the outside noise. We want to be that team. Why wouldn't you want to be that way? Why wouldn't you want as a fan to be like that and emulate that type of atmosphere and the energy? You know what I mean?
Ryan, Sterling Shepard would be a hit on Hard Knocks. DJ would get to show a different side of him. You can do the whole Saquon storyline. Giants got storylines
so boring on there.
He's on stage with Guns N' Roses. Come on now. Aaron Rodgers went to a Taylor Swift concert.
I know. We saw the videos. We already got the media coverage. We don't need Hard Knocks to show that.
Ryan's like, I need more of this. And you know what it is? B? Ryan does not want the Jets on Sunday night to look like the Roy family in Succession. That's what he doesn't want. He doesn't want to see them looking dysfunctional like another episode of Succession, which Ryan and I both love.
That's what I'm
he does
worried
not
about.
want to see that happen. He's just trying to keep this under wraps. But like I said, I'll say it again. You know who wants to see it happen? The rest of America. They want to see it happen.
Brian Sampson, please write in the comments if you want a Brian Sampson in Fresno. Please.
Paging Brian Sampson.
Guys, that's another edition of the Post Up. Appreciate you as always, guys.
All right, fellas.
Appreciate you, man. Good one. Good talking, guys.
See ya.